Morning everybody, welcome back to the hay farm finally. I always tend to forget that this series sometimes exists, but fear not. Let's get the intro rolled out and I'll give you guys an idea of what we're going to be doing today. Now first things first, it is October. I know that this is technically a little bit past the last cutting of hay, but that pasture that sits right over behind the original cattle barn, we're going to be cutting that one last time with our swather. We're currently though on our way to go look at a marketplace listing for an IH manure spreader, really old one from like the mid 70s. My bad, it's actually from the 80s, but looks like this. Plus, I feel bad we never did bale our straw that came from the wheat ground, so we're going to do that, sell all those straw bales off since we have enough to last us through the winter. That should round out our day, so I'm going to go and buy/look at this manure spreader, and we'll see you guys here in just a few.
Later.
After settling for $6,000, we do have ourselves a really nice condition manure spreader. I was really surprised how well this thing turned out. We sadly are not going to be able to get to use this thing in its logical time period because manure spreading is supposed to be done, I would think, in the earlier to mid-spring. But I kind of want to throw some manure on that wheat ground just for the fun of it so I can actually get some use out of this thing. Up at the cattle barn, we do have manure that we can use. Whatever I have is all I'm going to spread, so I don't want to have that poo go to waste. Haven't yet decided what I'd like to pull this thing. Daryl's going to be doing, obviously, all of our cattle work with the hoof trimming, just making sure all those girls' claws are looking nice and dazzly. Manure heap is looking pretty full over there. I did pick up a Bobcat bucket for about $400 last week because I knew I was going to be trying to make the purchase this week. If you guys are indeed fans of the hay series and want to see it carried over into FS25, be sure to possibly smash that like button, maybe even consider subscribing down below. I am on that race to 100,000 public subscribers by the end of 2024, and the road to 2024 has never seemed closer. Guys, we're under 10K. It's within grasps. I'm excited to see what the future holds, and I know that the end of 22 really isn't the full end of 22 because we're going to have enough content to go around on this game well until we get some really good mods for 25. The cutting of this field, though, is going to be a little bit janky because I'm not going to really squeeze up against all these openings. I'd rather just cut that with my flex wing. The amount of bales, though, we should be able to pull out of this field will be the difference maker and if it was worth it or not. If I can just keep pace, we should be able to get this field done rather quickly. I want you guys to head down to the comments and let me know, for more of our dairy cattle farmers, or really anybody that does hay, what do your guys' operations look like? I have asked this before for the harvesting side of the community, but why not try and figure out our hay farming community? As you guys know, on the hay farm, I do have a hay bind as well, because this one's having some problems digging into the ground. Hasn't had any problems yet, so I'm gonna hopefully be able to trust it. But get creative, get funky, let us know down below, and get that comment section all fired up. I think with that being said, though, I'm going to cue a little bit of a time-lapse, guys. We'll probably leave it on the interior view since this is actually kind of mesmerizing. And we'll go around and around and around so you guys can enjoy that lovely farm work. that was actually a really cool looking time lapse if you ask me. You guys know I like to do the drone shots, but I just didn't want to take the risk of not being able to use a hired worker. So that finishes out all of our mowing for the season. I think that we're actually going to rake the straw field first before we go and rake the hay. Kind of give it a little time to fluff up, but the straw field's actually further. We're honestly still quite a long ways from getting out of our $250,000 debt right now. But through hard work and determination, I think we're going to be able to dig ourselves out of this hole, even if we have to resort to some contracts. Still the best sounding tractor in all of Farm Sim, changed my mind. Oh, I almost forgot. So this pathway was created on its own video. You guys can find that in the top right. But we actually have to make that one roadway that I said I was going to make for the longest time from my back shed all the way to the animal feedlot. I never ever did make that pathway, so we were actually going to go take that skid steer forestry mulcher and finally piece together the roadway. If we'd have had any wider of a bean head though on that white combine, I think we probably would have had to get a bigger rake. It's missing a little bit, but it's just wide enough to sneak in like 98% of the crop. Big question you guys have always asked over time is, what are some of your top favorite maps, preferably in the console sector of Farm Sim? I, for one, have really loved Griffin, Indiana as my go-to candidate, really just due to field size, community, versatility. It's got a great size of a town. It's got really good plot sizes for land, so if you want to do something in landscape, you could do something in town. You could do a smaller homestead build outside of town. You can also own a crop farm. You could own a animal farm. You could own just a hay farm. There's such great versatility on this map that this is the map that's earned my #1 pick. Of course, you do have like Edgewater, Saskatchewan, Alma, Missouri, American Falls, and so on and so forth, but I gotta say, Griffin takes the cake in my opinion. I think I'll knock out the raking on this field since I am already here. I'll catch you guys back at the house when we break out the baler and knock out all of those lovely straw bales. It's such a pretty looking field when you get this thing all wrapped up. Now I gotta try and not run over my mounds too much, but I think it's time we go and grab the 4430 with the Vermeer baler, get ourselves some round bales done, and then it is off to baling some hay. Just caught word from Daryl that all the girls have been officially trimmed up, so that is fantastic. This field hopefully shouldn't take too long, and I also believe that if we bring down our really long Haymaster trailer, it can actually hold just a few more bales than the Prowler can, even if we stack them all up 2 wide on the bottom and 1 row wide on the top. You'd think that I would have had enough of baling when I got that one straw field over at Daryl's on Nebraska, but here we are again. We got to get this done. The only difference is that I get to keep all the profit on these bale sales. Daryl doesn't get to keep 35% of it like we did over there. However, on Nebraska, our financial situation is quite a bit different than it is on this series. I cannot remember to my knowledge exactly, but I think on Nebraska I am officially 100% debt-free. And if that is the case, everything that we make out of that harvest is going to be straight profit, because all we have to do is pay off our sprayer, and that's it. The old school hay farm and Grandpa's farm honestly hold their own, solely due to the fact they got that old iron. We love the old stuff. This series originally did start with some newer equipment, but we've gradually just worked our way back in time. And I gotta say, I really am not that disappointed. The only thing that really has stayed new on this farm is the Vermeer baler and our Heston swather. Otherwise, every single other tractor on this farm has been the D21 Alice, the 4430 Deere, the 1755 Oliver, and the G2155 or 155 White. It has keeping our repair bills down though, because since a lot of this stuff is a lot more mechanical, a lot easier to fix. No need to fight the Right to Repair Act when half of this stuff could literally be sourced from your local hardware store. Keeping the hype train for 25 alive, they obviously have been starting to announce some really cool brands that are making their way into game. The biggest one I'm excited for has easily been the J&M. I love J&M, and I hope that they put in more than just the auger wagon, because J&M does make a seed tender, and those things do look awesome. Whether those will actually make an appearance is beyond me, but let me know, guys, which brand has excited you the most that has been already announced in FS25. Kind of hard to tell through all the weeds, but I think there's 2 rows after this. Yes, that is a second row. That one I don't think is going to be that potent, though, because the outside row, when we raked it, was really, really thin. And I always forget to reset the bale counter when we get to the end of a field. Well, the bale counter did say 56. I think that was mainly because it was counting all the grass bales we turned silage. So it can't really get an accurate reading when you don't reset the bale monitor. Well, that's a relief. I got one last bale out of it before we got to the end. That means the hay will at least offset correctly, and we don't have to have another random straw bale pop out in the middle of a hay field. Let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 bales. Not too shabby. I think the trailer that we got holds either 10 or 12, so that works perfectly. Hay bale field, though, that's a different story. We'll have quite a few more on that. I'd say this job's gonna stink, but that might be a little corny. I thought I did my math right and that this trailer would be able to hold all of them, but it's about 2 bales short. You know what that means? We are gonna head up and grab the old trusty 66 Chevy flatbed and carry the last 2 in on the same trip, because I am danged if I'm gonna make 2. America, baby. I'd say let's check for visibility, but I think Daryl's got a better shot at seeing than I do. I got horrible mirrors and 0 visibility anywhere. I have used this truck for so many stupid tasks, I don't even think I want to know about half of them. Daryl's truck, on the other hand, has been a very, very useful truck across all of the different series that it has shown up in. I also didn't realize that that road led right to the stockyard. Cool. How much are these things going to be worth? There's 2 of them. $920. That's what I said. Can Daryl make the same cut is the real question. I think for the meantime, we'll get Corey loaded up with the manure spreader so he could start working on that. Then I can get the bales in the cattle pasture done, and if Corey gets done with the manure spreader, then Daryl will follow behind him with the disc. Just a lot to do, not a lot of time to do it. I hope that the working width on this thing will at least justify, how do we say, I hope the working width of this manure spreader kind of offsets the amount of stuff that I'll have to put in it. It's only got like a 2.4 meter working width. So if that only lasts like 1 pass on that field down there, I am going to be low-key very, very angry. This looks like it might take a few trips. And what's really nice is that that pile is not going down very fast. But neither is this thing filling up. So I guess it goes both ways. Man, that stinks.
Several bad puns later.
Honestly, with that being full, I'm just going to leave the bucket here because that's all that bucket's ever going to be used for. Now it's time to see how much we can actually get done. Now it's time to see how much dung we can flung. Sorry, Corey, sometimes jobs just have to be done, and you just ended up getting the short end of the stick on that one. It does seem that Corey's going to at least be able to spread for just a little bit before he's going to have to get refilled. The problem with manure in this game is that Giants kind of like nerfed it, apparently, according to Grant. So it's free fertilizer. I mean, I don't have to pay for it. But with that working with, man, that's going to be rough if I have to do any field bigger than that straw ground. Sadly, we are not going to be loading the bales that are in this field. I got a couple more tasks that I'm going to have to do today. But we will at least get this field baled up before we have to go and work on that little driveway. I don't know when I'm going to be able to haul in the gravel for it, but we will at least cut the dirt track way. As stated in the latest homeowner series, just due to timing and scheduling, I don't know how many more videos we're going to have for really the hay farm, homeowners, anything other than Nebraska, possibly old school, because it is now about 4 days away from being a month to 25's launch. So sadly, this will probably be the last dedicated hay series video outside of the 25 launch, where we're just trying to use the series as content till the series can be migrated to the newer game. I hope that makes sense in a nutshell, as that's about the only way I'm really able to describe it. These are some steep hills. Not only is the tractor fighting the power it needs to give the baler, but we're also fighting Mother Nature. This 30 series, I don't know how to think about it. Sometimes it's the best tractor I've ever seen, and other times it is the most gutless POS I've ever seen in my life. As of recent, it's been a really good tractor, but the reputation that I have with this thing is just not that great. So hopefully that can continue, because I don't like this tractor not being useful. I do gotta say, oh jeez. So Corey now is empty. Let's see, how far did he make it? Oh, you gotta be joking. Bro made it like a quarter of the way. Yeah, I don't know if that's gonna be worth it to really do that. Plus, I was looking at the precision farming, and it didn't look like for nitrogen that manure was really doing as much. Which it's in kilograms, but it's still like in the lower to mid 40% range on what it's actually done. Not like the ground needs to be perfect, like we're going to be trying to pull 300 bushel corn out of it, but it would be nice for the land to at least yield something. You could make the argument that something's better than nothing, but if something requires a lot of effort just to get barely anything, not too sure that'll justify itself. Oh yeah, as I was about to say before Corey called me, I think out of any field on this map, this one has to be the most beautiful. Now, granted, that's not what's supposed to be sitting there, but the overall terrain and the overlook sightseeing this field offers is just one in a million. I mean, come on. Yeah, the mud part of the cattle barn doesn't look that grand. But you gotta admit, the hillside white fence, and as you get a little bit over the hill, the red barn, it just looks spectacular. I think you guys can probably tell that I'm starting to get a little bit bored. Kind of trying to find things to keep me entertained. We don't have too many passes left though. Just one more long one, and then we should be able to start working on the shorter passes. Something that is tripping me up though about this tractor is that because I have the 4240 over on the grandpa's farm, I'm used to seeing a loader on this tractor now, and this tractor don't have one. So I'm constantly like thinking, where's the bucket at, so I don't keep scooping up the hay. Well, there is no bucket, so quit worrying about it. But I got maybe 2, possibly 3, depending on the yield, bales left. And it is off to the driveway. See you guys over there. The executive decision has been made. Corey and Daryl kind of talked me into it. We are going to end up finishing out, at least with the amount of manure that we still have. They're going to take care of that, though, while I get this driveway fixed up, because that way we kind of can separate this chunk of grass from our backyard chunk of grass, and then we can just widen the entranceway so we can have a direct line of sight to our bales. And instead of loading everything back there, we can load it all right here and then just drive the feed wagon accordingly. The amount of times that I've said that this mod is like my favorite thing in all of Farm Sim is severely underrated. Like I don't even know how many times I could say I've used it. Just connect it right up to the chicken coop. Beautiful. But I thank you guys all for tuning in to the hay farm, as I believe this is where we're probably going to leave it off. We got all of our tasks that we needed done today, other than the spreading of manure and then, of course, disking it in. Probably the only unrealistic thing that we have done so far. But hey, that's all right. Be sure to check out the rest of the hay series, though, But hey, that's all right. Just remember to be sure to check out the Hay Farm series playlist up in your top right-hand corner. See all of our wonderful adventures that we've made on this farm. And I think that's going to do it for us, guys. Just remember to keep it light, keep it loose, keep it fresh, and most importantly, keep it fun. We'll see you guys all in the next one. This is the Rental Man out. Peace.